Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast, energized by KLMO Game Boy US, with your hosts, Jason Rambo and Sean Alley. Coming in hot with the 411 on all things sporting clays. Your go-to source for information, education, and entertainment, from the new shooter to the seasoned competitor.
Oh, I'm a junkie, man. I want to play with the buttons.
He just likes to throw people under the bus if you're not used to that yet. That's part of the show.
Does your brain hear what your mouth is saying?
Hey, I'm going to call Dave when the podcast is over and ask him what half the words are.
Let's rapid fire. Let's do the hot seat. Let's get her done.
Often imitated, but never duplicated. And now, it's showtime!
We're back.
Yeah, and you left that damn door open again.
No, you did it.
Wait a minute, you were the last one in here.
It's your shop.
Yeah. How you doing, Chad?
RAD Chad Roberts.
Hello. I left the door open.
He just came strolling on in.
Yeah. What's up, Mr. Large in charge?
Buddy, we are here. Got Chad in studio. At the time of this recording, you guys are going to be heading up to the Ohio State Championship this weekend, and I'll be up the day after.
RAD Chad is in town for not only that, but for his clinic, what he did with Mr. Radulovich.
Yes, it was fun. It was really cool. The Rads were there.
The Rats were there.
The Rads. Radulovich.
He had people from Canada.
Really?
What was the other one? Was it Georgia?
Georgia, Nashville.
Yeah.
Wow.
Canada. Because I got this email and I was like, .ca. What is he? Government or something, or from California, and then he's like, "Hey, buddy, how's it going, eh?" You know, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's gonna be awesome."
I assume those guys are in town to shoot the Ohio State.
Nope. Drove down for 5.5 hours straight to the clinic.
Wow.
And we actually were a little behind because David, of course, started talking a lot during the classroom session.
I would blame David on that.
I'm not taking.
We know how that goes.
On that one. And by the time we got the second session out there, I mean, they had closed the shop down. They're calling me like, "What are you going to do with the cards?" And we were out there till like 8 o'clock at night. It was really cool because out in California, it gets dark by 8:30, and we were like, "This is great." Except that was the third day at 12 hours at a club.
Oh man,
it was 3 hard days.
Did you get that nice, pretty rose-colored sunset?
Yeah, it was awesome. It's nothing's more awesome or more rad than like Huntington Beach or Newport Beach or where I'm at in San Clemente off the pier. That is just amazing. But it's. I'm from Montana. I've seen it out there too, but it's cool here because David was even taking pictures. Like, it's so cool because it was raining behind us. So out to the, I don't know what direction that was because I'm so backwards here, west. And then I would have told you it was east, but
it was raining over there.
Yeah, I got to laughing. He had a guy call him. The guy's not a competitive shooter. He wanted to come take the clinic. Just because the Dead Pair guys advertised it. I'm like, really?
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, what? He goes, he's not a competitive shooter. He likes shooting and likes podcasts and thinks it's cool we're doing a clinic. So he's coming. I'm like, okay. So that was pretty cool.
It wasn't because David or Chad was there. It was because he heard it on the Dead Pair
He's
podcast.
heard us on the show before, and he's like, I just wanted to meet you guys because I've seen you guys. I've heard you guys so much online. He's seen me because of the mounting video and stuff we did on YouTube. But his first thing he said is, I've watched or listened to you guys so much that all he wanted to do is do something where you guys would be or where we were going to do something together.
That is so really cool, man.
Yeah.
That is unreal.
But, it was amazing to me. So these guys, each person had their own target card. Mm-hmm. And after they took the lesson, the morning guys, I'm driving around and, we filmed this and I'm driving around and here's the guys from the morning after lunch. They went right back on the course and started working on the stuff that they had learned. It was pretty cool to see that, they're implementing it.
That's always a good feeling, right, Chad?
Anytime, I just love to teach. So anytime I see somebody get something out of what we teach and they don't feel A, like they're taken advantage of, or B, they're not intimidated, and they come out of it with just like, this was the coolest thing. I'm glad I did it. Let's do some more. Mm-hmm. I love seeing that. It is so cool.
That's
probably why I like doing what I do. I love to teach for probably more now, as I do it more than I do shooting, and I love to shoot. So there's love, and then there's like this out of mind craziness.
Well, it's got to be very rewarding. I mean, seriously.
It is.
Well, for the people that are listening, we've had a ton of emails and questions about clinics. People that are intimidated, people that weren't sure how it works, and all this, that, and the other. So, Sean, as you know, I followed these guys around with a video camera. Had Chad and David mic'd up the whole time, and we're hoping to get that released as a video podcast for those that are listening by next week, the next episode. Depending on my editing skills, it might go another week, but
it'll get done.
We'll get it out as soon as we can.
Well, that's just because Dave was involved in the amount of talking he can do. It's like, dude, we only got so many gigs in this camera.
By the end of the second clinic or rotation or whatever you want to call it, I was out shooting, and Chad looked at me and he's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "You guys burn up both batteries, dude. I'm done."
Right.
The microphones are dead. The camera's dead.
We've got chapters of video here, so we're going to have to wade through.
Yeah. So,
and just to be clear, we're not going to show every single bit of the clinic.
No.
Obviously, we got to keep that a little bit on the wraps so you can get something out of it, and not learn or see something without a good eye behind you and a good eye talking about it. Because even I haven't done a clinic with David since he was in California, but when we did the Western Regionals out there, 3-4 years ago, I guess now. And man, what we were talking about, he's like, "Man, your stuff has really changed, Chad," because I have written material for everything I do, and so does David. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know where you're coming from, because what he taught out there and what he's doing now is just mind blowing.
You think it's more evolution than anything else, Chad? I mean, just you're constantly evolving as a shooter.
Yeah, I think for us as coaches, if we're not, then you're just stuck in the dark ages. And I think this is why you get some of the coaches out there that will tell you that if they're not competing, it's really hard. You can be a great instructor. You can teach somebody how to shoot a shotgun and show them the fun part of this game, and take them out and do it. But when you're starting to spend the types of money that it takes to shoot competitive events, that is stuff that we're always evolving. And I don't care who you are, whether it's Anthony, myself, Wendell, that stuff it's evolving. Some of it stays the same. The essence stays the same. You're always looking at the target harder or whatever it is. But man, with these machines changing, I shot your tower. Totally different feel than, a target on a ground and a target 6 feet in the air and a target 12 feet in the air or 20 feet in the air is a different target, even if you don't change the trap angle and you just leave it alone. So there's so much out there that I don't even know if we're at the infancy of it. It's like golf has, I teach a professional golfer, and he's a coach in California, and the amount of video equipment that he uses and ball trackers and all this stuff and swing trackers to help a new student, even if they feel that it's wrong, he can show them on video how it's right, and they can learn properly without having I know some people have messed around with it. I've talked to Gavin a little bit, and he's used it and stuff like that, but we still are learning. Of course. If you're not, then
if you really stop and think about it for a minute, our sport's very young in this country. I mean, I know it's been around in Europe forever, but sporting clays is still kind of young in this country. I mean, when did it get introduced in very early '80s?
Yeah,
So
we've been shooting some form of flying targets since early 40s.
Yeah, but I'm talking about as far as sporting clays as an organized sport in this country, it's only 40 years old. You take golf, football, and any of these other sports. I mean, they're hundreds. Some of them, yeah, exactly, are hundreds of years old. So we're still kind of young as a sport, and I'm excited because all the technology that's available and becoming more and more available. In fact, we have an announcement coming up here soon. But anyway. I want to see how that applies to our sport and how you guys use it as coaches, Chad and David and people like that, to not only apply it to your own shooting, but how you can use it to benefit a student. Absolutely. I think it would take a 4-hour lesson and break it down to 2 hours, But I don't think you guys would lose any money because you got the money in the technology, right? So it'd be more expensive. But they could learn so much faster, I think, if they could visually see something.
I do the analogy like this. When I was racing BMX professionally and I wanted to learn something, I actually had to go build it or go find a track that had it, and I would just go for it. Like I wanted to jump a 45-foot double or whatever it was. And nowadays, I mean, you can, I know friends that were learning how to backflip, right? So they do it on dirt. You take a shovel and make the landing real soft, and you try to get around to both tires, and they just, half the time they break something and they're out for 4 weeks, and then they come back and try it again, and hopefully don't break anything. So the learning curve took a long time. Nowadays they have resi ramps and foam pits. Mm-hmm. I should say about 42. I was doing backflips into foam. you can do all kinds of stuff nowadays that back it was probably more fun as a kid, right? Doing it in dirt. And,
well, of course,
right? It's like, go jump that car. Okay, cool.
Light bulb comes on. Let's go do that.
Yeah. So I think with technology, it does now. The kids are doing. It looks exactly like some video game that you were playing when you were younger. It's like, oh, that'll never happen. I can do it on a video game, but it'll never happen in person. And you watch somebody do it in person now, and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
So I think and it goes down to technology. Like even in racing, I was watching the World Championships last week from BMX, and I've raced World Championships, and I've done that, and I've won stuff in the Worlds, and it's just different now. They're so fast and different. Even the look of the rider changed, over the years. So
the bar keeps raising.
Yeah, and this country learns how to, weight train this way, or this country learns how to modify the bike so it'll ride this way or whatever. And there's a lot more money and everything, and it really comes down to money, right? The more money you got, the more stuff you can do. I think that's like you're off. When you were mud racing, the more money you got, the more faster, bigger, and louder.
Big
you
motor.
That was all technology based. Well, no. I should say wallet based,
Yeah, but current technology.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people that are into motors and racing, and especially if you watch like Street Outlaws or something, they ask me like what motor I ran and what this and what that, and they kind of look at me funny, and I'm like, look, you can buy stuff off the shelf now that made more horsepower than what we considered exotic and had to be a lot of machine work and a lot of handwork,
right? Like you got these. It's just crazy, and I don't, because I'm in it, so I don't realize it. But I guess I'm out of it too because I'm on the West Coast, right? So I got to hang out with David, do these clinics, shoot with David a bunch, watched him work with you a little bit, just to see what he's saying nowadays. I got, obviously we taught all those people in the clinic, and it's like, wow, things have evolved a little bit. I've worked with Anthony over the winter, and it's like, wow, you are definitely different than you were in 2004 or 2007 or 8 when I first started working with him. So, been doing stuff online, right? I mean, Great videos, great stuff. And who would have thought David's doing, I think he says he's doing 4 or 5 hours a night on video calls and with shooters, right?
Yeah.
So, and I even do that. I'm teaching a guy out in New York, sends me videos, or we do it live. And, who would have thought we'd have done that 10 years ago? So people are getting help all over the country, and all over the world.
Constantly evolving.
Speaking of getting help, Mr. Alley, I want to hear from you for a minute. Mr. Rad over here worked with you on Sunday. And, you admitted you had some aha moments. Now, you don't have to break it down into specifics, but that's the first time you'd had a lesson in a long time.
Yeah, I told Chad I've only had 4 lessons in my whole life. You know what I mean? As far as going to instructors. And
your masters, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've always been a guy that's kind of figured things out for myself. Whether that's a good idea or not, I don't know. But, Chad, we talked, and I said, man, I'd really love to be able to get a couple hours with you just to kind of let you look at what I'm doing and see if you can find any flaws or things that need tweaked or whatever. And lo and behold, I mean, there was a couple things that did happen, and Chad was able to give me some information and some insight of things I was doing, ways to look at things, ways to move, ways to set up that actually really helped. And I can see the wisdom in that. So I'd like to, obviously try to keep in touch with him and hopefully learn more as time goes on. But, I mean, it just goes to show you there's always something to learn, always something new to come along the pipe. I mean, I was just really stoked, and I think overall it was a good experience, and I would never hesitate to do it again. So
I'll tell you what for me, stand behind your big dude, by the way. It'd almost be easier to stand in front of you and have you shoot over my head. I can see down the bottom of your barrel like a shot cam. Your moves were great. There was there was some things I think if I had you long term, like we were talking about, I'd probably change.
Tweak a few things.
But that would require you to do some training to learn those moves or learn whatever I'm talking about. And I didn't want to do that because of, we're so close to the state shoot, and you're already shooting well. You want to shoot. I don't want to kill your confidence. I did the same thing with you, Jason. We didn't really do a lesson, but, it was like just slowing you on your moves so you could see what you were doing, and it was like, oh, bang. But I got to tell you, we were out there for a while. What, 2, 3? I don't know. We were shooting.
We started about 9, and I think we didn't knock off till almost 2.
Yeah, we ate lunch and stuff and came back. But what I was going to say is when I got you on that tower shots, because they out there, if anybody knows Cardinal, which was pretty cool, they have a fee task area that you can kind of move around in 2 towers. They had 4 birds, and they gave you a different perspective how to look through the gun. And at first, I could see just this perplexity out of your eyes, looking at me like,
it's like, you want me to do what?
And I'm like, you're dumb. That's all I can think you were saying to me. It's like, you're dumb, dude. And I was like, no, you got to trust me. And you did it. And I mean, even you were like 20 yards behind us, and you went, Jesus, you smokeballed that thing. And you did. And you looked at me like you were going to eat me. You had this smile on your face, like, and I can't even do it because we're not on TV. Yeah. But it was so cool to see that little moment.
Yep.
And I tell you what, that made it all worth it right there. Like, I don't care what we did around the course because you were fine. It was pretty standard. Fix you here, fix you there, give you a couple tips here until we get to see each other more and make that a long-term thing as a coach. But, dude, that was awesome.
It was just one of those aha moments. The light bulbs went on. I'm like, holy crap, I just did that. Yeah,
and it was funny. Cool. And I don't know if you were watching, Jason, at that point. I know you said smoke ball, and you might have went back to the buggy, but he looked at me, he goes, I want to do it again. I was like, I don't care, do it again. And he's like, I think you were just thinking maybe it wasn't real.
I just want to make sure it wasn't a fluke or something, dude,
so that was you with me. I had that with David, right? Yeah. You were standing there watching me with David, and I did it with David. I was like, geez, it was like magic. Like, I understood what he was talking about because I've been doing this for a long time. I got it. I just wanted to make sure I was doing what he was trying to tell me and make sure I wasn't seeing something weird. And it was almost ridiculous how easy it was, but also how weird. It was just really organic and just it was pretty beautiful.
But it's like we were talking earlier before the podcast, it's one of those things where everybody wants to get good quickly and become knowledgeable quickly.
That's the human, right?
Right. And we get so many questions from listeners and stuff who say, well, I want to get from this class to this class. How long is it going to take? And it's like, dude, it's totally individual because it depends on, how many targets are you seeing a week or in a month or in a year? Everybody's going to be different, and it takes time. You have to really spend time in this game and see thousands and thousands and thousands of targets before you can really start to realize some of the more advanced techniques and some of the more advanced coaching that people do, because otherwise, as a new shooter, you're totally oblivious to it.
So, Chad, you're not only in town for the clinic and for coaching, but the Ohio State Shoot is among us. You and I start shooting tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about that for a second. So you've won California State how many times?
I've won sporting once, HOA, and I've won it almost in every class. I won B class one year, C I won, or I got third that year. So I won B for sure because I know Zach won that year. I won the B class. I've won A class and AA. I've won a bunch of zone shoots before they turned into regionals. And then I won California State HOA for the first time in 2019, but I won 2016. I got third, I think, in the main, which really didn't matter, but I won the fee task state championships in 18, and then I won it again in 19. So 2-time fee task and one for, single time in the main.
So when that finally happens, it's like, wow, I finally did it,
Yep.
I mean, because obviously you worked at it for years. And then you kept the ball rolling and you won again and you won again, you won again. Do you think it's easier to keep the ball rolling than to get it in the hoop the first time? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
No, it makes
like
total sense.
Working off that momentum?
What I would say is I wish it was that way because that's how BMX was with me. So if I could train and tell you when I was going to peak, and then it just come down to circumstances. If somebody ran me off the track or if I messed up on my gate start or whatever. But if I did everything right based off of the training that I did, I was peaking. There was not going to be anybody to beat me that day. So I was very consistent in that. So my first, world title was it was 1999. Sorry, I was really young then. And then I went 2001, 2003. So it was every 2 years, basically. I won 2 titles each year, except my first year got crashed. So I would say that it doesn't get easier, but it's unnoticeable. So what I mean by that is when I won the California State in feed task, it was completely, the first time was a fluke. I had a really crappy main. I had a chance at it, but the guys that were shooting at the top they were shooting well. Justin Fox won that year, I believe. I just didn't do my job. So I went out of sight, out of mind. And I just won VTESC, and it was just kind of not trying. I just did it. And Nick almost actually beat me that day. He was 1-2. So on the second one, man, I put some time in 18 through 19 because it was 16 when I won the VTESC. So 17 and 18, I was on a PSCA tour that year too. So I think that's why it was another thing, because in 16 I got third M3 at the Nationals. So I was starting to roll pretty good. 17, it was okay. Again, I ended up 15th on the PSCA tour, all that. And then in 2018, it died. So I had really no goals left because I was doing what I wanted to do. I really, really, really love the professional side of this game when we had it. And it's still there, but it's just different, right? So what happens is in my opinion, I think you work so hard at getting a goal that you forget about the goal and you don't even realize you're working hard. It's kind of like when I was a kid, I was riding a bike at age 10 and, I didn't win my first world title or national title or state title until I was like 17, 18 years old. So it was just, I was riding a bike. I was having fun. I was with my friends. I was jumping and doing this stuff, going to California and racing. And then it just bang, it happened. After you win, I think that's when it becomes really hard. And that's why I have to give credit to people like Zach Kimbaum or any of the people that are Anthony, for example, because Anthony, to me, as many times as he actually shoots in a year, he does more now than he used to, but he used to, shoot 5 times a year and average 96 and win the Nationals. So, right. That was amazing, right? Right. I think he figured it out. I think Wendell, in some form or fashion, figured it out at the open level, same as Mike Wilgus. And but I think still to this day, I would have to either put it to the people that actually figured it out and knew the work and could repeat it would be either Bill McGuire or Anthony. And Corey's close, but because he's been multiple time champion, but it was very far apart. So I think you lose it. And it's really hard you can climb the mountain because you don't realize you're climbing the mountain the first time because of the journey is so fun. But then after you get there, you realize how hard it was or how much shooting or whatever you had to do to get there.
And can it be repeatable?
And you do that again, you are a bad dude. I think, in my opinion, you just get to this ability to just really not worry about that work anymore. So like Bill, top 3, I think you won every regional except 1 or 2 of them. Then he won the Nationals. Nobody's ever done that since. Nobody. Yeah. There's just nobody dominating like what he is. And about the closest thing we have is Anthony, in my opinion, because he's just consistently just that top 3 everywhere he goes. So I would like to see that in this game. For me, it's just been really hard. Since 19, I had the best year ever I've shot in so long. And I came in winning 3 events right away, right in 2020, and then COVID hit. And I literally lost that road going up the hill. I don't mind saying it because every one of you, I don't care who you are that's listening to this podcast, will go through it. Yeah. You'll kick butt. You did it last year, right? You won state here on VTESC.
Yeah. And then I fell off the mountain.
You fell off the mountain. And when you go look for that trail, it's really hard to find. So you just went up the mountain. You got there. Mm-hmm. You never even thought, you didn't even want to be there because you even said it multiple times. I'm not really a master class shooter. I don't really need to be there. I don't want to really have to compete against you guys, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you just won.
Right.
So you found your way up without even trying.
Did it without even knowing it.
If I asked you, how did you do it? It's going to be really hard to recreate that. And that's why the coaching is so incredibly important, I think, in this game, because I don't think of myself as an instructor anymore. I thought it at the beginning. You know, I can teach anybody I can actually hold your gun and shoot for you. I mean, just pull the trigger and I'll break the target. That ain't teaching anything. But if I can hold your hand through a title or a championship or your first win or your first 75 or your first 85 or your first 95, that's where, and it's hard work, man. I don't know a lot of people that like being coaches in that aspect, because then you're starting to really pick the small things to get to build a champion. Really.
Oh yeah, Anthony said it best. He said, "Look, it's so much easier to take a guy that shoots in the 60s and get him into the 80s than it is to take a guy in the 80s to get him in the 90s."
Yeah.
So speaking of all that, Sean, do you have any kind of goals or anything for the state shoot?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say on the air. I've got an idea. Hopefully I can keep my momentum rolling. I would like to do well. If I can possibly finish in the top 10 in Masterclass, I think that would be a great accomplishment. But I don't have any specific goal other than just trust the process, keep my head on straight, and just take it one bird at a time.
Gotcha.
I just don't want to suck.
And that too.
And I want to stay. I won a class here last year, right?
Yeah.
So I was close in a couple others. So
do you set goals when you go to events?
Used to. It's more of a longer term thing. I will set a goal on a smaller event if it's part of a mini goal to get to the larger goal.
And let's face it, there's big news because they're going to have a record-breaking attendance this year. I think we crossed the 500 mark.
There's 549 as of last night.
549.
And I know that 2 of them aren't coming for sure. 3, because one of them's our friend Christian, who's supposed to be here tonight.
He came down with the Chinese lung herpes disease.
Yep. So
hope they get.
and there's a lot of. It's weird. I heard a couple of my friends called me. Tommy called me from back home, and he got COVID because he was on the Disney set. He does moves cars for Marvel and all that, like the Batman, and he brings that over at the club every once in a while. I'm like, I want to get in that thing. He's like, you can't touch it. But he got COVID, and he doesn't know how he caught it. I heard that Bill Elliott was really sick. He told me this morning. He's like, how'd your clinic go? I'm sorry I didn't get out there. I got really sick. I got this weird flu. And I'm like, have you got tested? I've already had COVID. I'm like, that was 2 years ago, dude. You should get tested. So, but yeah, Christian turned around halfway here, right? He was on his way over, and he just felt crappy, and he went to the Walgreens, and boom, he's COVID.
You know, not only and for those of you listening, by the time you hear this, it's going to be too late if you haven't signed up. But you know, one of the cool things, I'm on the board now with the OSCA, and because there were so many donations for the raffles and for the giveaways, instead of the board where they would normally spend that money on that, they actually took the funds that they had for that and put it back to the classes.
Yeah, and that's
it's
awesome.
Huge.
So, yeah.
It's huge. I love this shoot, man. I'm so pumped to be here. I was telling my girlfriend, because she went on a family trip that I could have went on up to Oregon to the coast and stuff with her family, and I was coming out here to do the clinic with David and shoot this. And I think a week ago, I was sitting downstairs, and she came downstairs, and I was doing my mounts, and I was just standing there staring out the window with my gun on my foot, you know, like opened up, like I was staring, getting ready to shoot a pair. She said, what are you doing? Are you talking to Jason again? Because I think I might even have you on the phone. And I was like, no, I'm not talking to Jason. Or maybe I did. I can't remember. But she was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I really am. I haven't been this excited to go somewhere for shooting, because we travel a lot. If you do what we do, I mean, David's crazy. I don't know how he does it. He drove from the North Central Regional on Sunday night. He was on the last rotation. I think he said he left at 7 or 8. Called us at midnight. He was on the side of the road, charging he talked to us for almost an hour, while he's charging and driving. Man, he was on, but then he was there at the club the next morning, and we were out there for 12 hours, and then we did, he filmed with us yesterday, and some more stuff, and that was another 8 hours. It's like,
and then he turned around and drove back.
He had to go back.
To Arkansas?
To the North Central, where Northbrook.
Yeah,
Wow.
he was doing stuff with Barepelt, and then he had some students because of a mix-up. Yeah, it was just and so I think we get pretty much in a groove. I was talking to Bill about today for a second, because we went out to Dan's place out at Eagle's Nest, and Bill McGuire is there because he's here shooting, and he was out there with a couple of his students, and you could tell it's summer grind right now. You could tell his vest was dirty. He's been, his gun was dirty. You could tell he's just been shooting a ton, and just he looks like a nomad, and it's like, if he had a beard, he would look like John Daly. It would be the best thing ever. Right?
Yeah, he would.
Right?
He would.
But that's what we do, right? And we go do that, and we're up at 5, and we're out, go to bed at 12 or whatever. But I was like, I am stoked to come out here. I don't know what it was. I had so much fun last year, and this year I got to come out here for a little bit longer time, and man, I'm pumped. I can't wait to go out there. I don't know how I'm going to shoot. I feel really good. I think I was training on Saturday. We were shooting.
Yeah.
And I was pounding these tires. I just turned around, Jason. I'm like, I'm shooting so good right now.
Yes.
It's like, wow.
Yeah,
I was murdering stuff, and I was just seeing everything and feeling it, and the moves were just there. And but again, it doesn't really matter. I mean, my goals are little, usually for a tournament like this, not because of the size, but because they require a larger goal in the end. Mm-hmm. So I have what I need to do long term, where I want to be long term. And my thing is, I have 2 sets of goals, mainly about 3, one for life, one for shooting, and one for actually coaching. So coaching for me right now is super, super important. And I don't know why. I think I'm just really into it.
So I want to take a break real quick. We got a segment to do. We need to kick the air conditioners on in here. And then, Chad, when we come back, I'm going to put you in the hot seat a little bit. I want your opinion on some very pressing topics.
If it's pressing, I will press.
Okay, joining us right now for this Barepelt segment, we've got David Kelly on the phone. Dave, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing good.
Dave, for those that don't know you, I know you're the general manager of South Florida Gun Club. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Gotcha. And thank you so much for your hospitality when Jason and I were down earlier in the year for the Jack Links. It was really cool to be able to go down there and practice at your facility. That is an awesome place to go shoot.
Absolutely. How fun.
Well, we enjoyed having you down. I hope you can make it back soon.
Oh,
we'll be back in February,
yes,
probably looking you up.
Great.
So,
we hope to be here.
So, Dave, this is kind of interesting because of all the people we've had on for Barepelt segments, you were one of the first ones to carry a Barepelt vest there at your club. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So how did that come about?
Actually, I saw the post that David Radulovich made on Facebook, and it was a very interesting looking vest. So I followed up and called Heather, and the rest is history.
Gotcha.
Me personally, she made me 3 or 4 vests and had them out to me within a couple of weeks, and it's a great product. I love their product.
Pretty much sold you right then and there, didn't it?
It did, on the spot.
Yeah,
we've been handling them ever since.
I mean, obviously they're a huge success story, something that was probably much needed in our sport, and they're definitely reaping the rewards from that. Everybody we talk to loves them. They're comfortable. If you get the lightweight ones, they're nice and cool to use in the summertime. The heavy duty version is better in the winter or the fall. But what other features do you really like about the Barepelt vest that you use?
2 things. I really like the feel, and I really like the weight of it. You know, it gets pretty hot here in South Florida.
Oh, yeah.
And their lightweight vest is perfect for our weather. And it's a great fit. I think a lot of the vest, the cloth vest, they pucker a lot at the pocket where you mount your gun. And they seem to have that figured out with their design. It doesn't have what I call the pucker factor in the shoulder pocket. Mm-hmm. And it's an all around great vest. What a great idea they had.
So is that the only vest you carry there now, Dave, or do you still carry others as well?
We do sell a few other vests just for the everyday run of the mill customer. You know, we are a private club, and we do not have we have maybe 40 or 50 competitive shooters that really, I believe they all shoot the Barepelts, honestly. And we have some other vests just for the everyday run of the mill shooter comes in and looking for a vest.
Gotcha. Now, do you allow people to customize the vests at your facility, or do you kind of have them pre-made up and ready to sell?
Both.
Oh,
We
okay.
actually have them with our logo that they can buy right off the shelf. And then Heather is so great to work with. We have taken so many custom orders and sent to her. It's very easy to order a custom vest from those folks. Never been an issue with it.
Nice.
None whatsoever.
Nice.
So, have you got your hands on the new Gen 2 vest?
I have not. Actually, I asked my secretary today to get a couple ordered so I could look at them.
Oh, you're in for a treat, my friend. Let me tell you, they are. You know, the product was so awesome, and when they told us they were coming out with a Gen 2, I'm like, oh man, I really like it the way it is. And then, believe it or not, they made it even better. I didn't think
That's
they could,
great. I
but they
look
did.
forward to seeing that. I
Yeah.
didn't think that was possible.
I didn't think so either.
Yeah, Jason's already got his. Mine's in the mail somewhere, so hopefully in the next few days it'll be showing up.
Yeah, we had a I don't want to call him a celebrity, but we had a high-ranking political figure that came in on Sunday. I took him out shooting, and he saw my vest, came back in, and we ordered him a vest.
Nice.
And I will tell you what, it says MAGA on the back of it. So you figure out the rest.
That's awesome.
No worries there. No worries there.
That is awesome. So when a customer comes to you, and this is why I asked if you still carry the other vest. If a customer comes to you and they're like, I kind of like this vest or whatever, but hey, what's this Barepelt? What's that all about? What is it? What is the major selling point, do you think, that gets them to pick up the Barepelt versus the other vests?
Simply the customization. We have several vests that Heather has sent us that we use for fittings, but it's people like to customize the vest. Some people want a logo, some don't. Some want their cat's picture on it, some want their dog's picture. It's the customization. And again, the hot weather.
Yeah.
Once they put that on and see how thin it is, and we actually have vests that I let people go out and try, and they come back in and say, hey, I want one of these.
Yeah.
So it's very, very easy. The vest, if you shoot in it once, it sells itself.
Well, when we came down there back in February, let's just say I had a bag that didn't make it to the Florida trip with me on the airplane.
Right.
So while I was waiting on that bag to show up and we were down there at South Florida, I needed a vest. And your gals in the front said, hey, we have Barepelts. I'm like, well, give me one of those. And, I put it on and went out and shot. And I was walking around at the end of the day and I got ready to leave. And I'm like, I still got this vest on. I had to run back in the clubhouse real quick. In fact, you guys were closing. I banged on the door and a girl came to the door and she's like, did you forget something? And I'm like, yeah, I'm wearing it. So, but
Oh, it's good. They would have tracked you down.
yeah, but it's kind of the point of, I was down there in that hot Florida sun. I mean, I know it was February, but it's still, Sean, it was still in the 80s.
Well, look, when you're coming from Ohio and your blood's used to the Ohio weather in February and you go to Florida, I don't care if it's 60 degrees. It's like, oh my God, I'm dying.
Yeah, yeah. And I had it on.
Exactly.
I had it on all day and forgot about it,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So-
the fit is they are so comfortable. To me, it feels like a well-fitted shirt. That's what it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's a good explanation. Absolutely.
I agree.
Well, hey, Dave, before we let you go, while we got you on the phone, when do you guys get back in the tournament swing?
First weekend in February, we're having the RC USA Cup.
Oh, okay, cool. Nothing,
Yes.
nothing between now and then.
Nothing between now and then except for our monthly shoots.
Okay.
We used to have a medium-sized shoot in December. It was too close to Christmas, so we canceled that this year and just solely concentrating on the RC USA Cup in February.
Gotcha. And that's all up on Score Chaser. Is that correct?
It is. It has. It's been up now for about a month. I think we have a couple hundred people already signed up.
Awesome. Cool. Good
Looking
deal.
forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm looking forward to getting down there and seeing you this year.
Yeah, me and Jason
Yeah,
are
man.
chomping at the bit to come back down there in February when it's freezing cold up here and enjoy some of that nice
Yeah, that's
warm.
a great time of year to be here.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So hopefully we'll run into you again soon.
Yeah, man.
Well, Dave, thank you very much
Love
for
to
spending.
have you.
Yeah, man, we appreciate it very much, and thank you for spending a few minutes with us here this afternoon. And man, I look forward to seeing you down there come February.
Yeah. Okay, man. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
Dave.
Dave.
Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're back. Before we get back to the questions, we got to do attorney talk real quick.
You betcha.
This Tourney Talk is brought to you by Score Chaser at scorechaser.com. Sean Alley, what's coming up, bud?
Short list here. 2 new tournaments to announce. The 2023 Western Regionals are now up at Long Meadow Clays Club. And also the Texas State Shoot at the National Shooting Complex for April 2023. Those are up now. You guys can get registered and ready to shoot next year.
Awesome. Okay, so, Chad, I had asked you about... You said here on our break you wanted me to kind of revisit this question. So I asked you about, once you won the first one, is it easier to keep the ball rolling or does it get harder? And then, Sean, you threw a wrench in the works.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did.
Speak.
So, do you want to speak first on that, Chad, or before we go down that rabbit hole? Or?
Throw the wrench first. I like throwing wrenches.
Well, the wrench I had is, so if you finally do make that goal and you get up to that level, does getting there make it harder or easier for you moving forward?
Yeah, so like I was saying before is, the first time you usually do it, you don't realize you're doing it. And it becomes like, oh, I love to shoot or I love to race or whatever it is that you're competing at. And you get there and you're like, wow, I did it.
Right.
It just happened. And you're like, I don't know what I did. Now, NASCAR teams, they race at Pocono or Daytona or whatever, they all have black books and they know exactly how the car was set up when they were racing well at the track, whether it was in qualifying or whatever. And so we all know that there's always different variables that happen. In this game, it's probably a target setter. It's the weather. It could be even the club, right? Mm-hmm. So like State's been here at the same club for 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. This will be the second year. And John Kruger's setting targets. Yep. So you're going to get similar flair to probably last year. But the State Shoot, I believe, before that was over at Cardinal, correct?
Correct.
And that was set with Hemingway?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to get, a
totally different targets.
So, you run into the first one. There is luck to it, I think. Honestly, in this game, there's some luck just because of the variables. But, you luck into the first one or you just walk into the first one. And I think once you get there, you're like, damn, that was a lot of work, but I didn't realize or feel the work. Now, the new season is upon you. You know you're good now because you've done it, right? And I've always said this about anything. You can jump a double once. Doesn't mean you can do it, right? You can jump it twice and know that you can do it. Jump it 3 times to know how. And jump it 4 times knowing that you can do it every time, right? Kind of that kind of analogy. So I think it's kind of a weird answer or my answer is weird compared to maybe some of the other pros. I think your first time you kind of just walk into it. I think there are some people that are so dedicated, they have the time, money, everything lines up. They have a goal, they hit that goal, they're like, bam, I'm state champion. That's what the goal was, and they knew exactly what they were going to do from the start. I also think that like I said, I think we walk into it. But I think the second time you do it, the path is still there that you've grinded out, but there's some work to do. So you go after it and you're like kind of excited because you didn't realize the path before, right? How much shooting you did or how much work you did.
It's almost like you weren't even aware of it.
Right. And now you have a little bit more awareness, right? And you're like, okay, I got to grind this out. And you're like midsummer going, holy crap, man, I got the state shoot. I'm down. I've already shot 1 million targets, registered. Everything's harder. I'm kind of struggling maybe this year a little bit, whatever it is, right? Something's off. And you get back to that title. You get it again. You're like, man, I am badass, right? So then the third year comes. And now you really know the path and you start to realize how hard the work it is. And I can tell you right now, I don't care what it is you win at. If your home life is right. If your shooting life is right, if everything off the course is right and everything's on the course is right, you can do it again, but it takes a team. And, in some sports, surfers have their coaches and then they have their trainer. Our golfers are a great example, right? They got their swing coaches, they got their club coaches, they got this coach, they got that coach, they got their their workout coach or whatever, and then they got their mental coach, right? So they got like 8 people behind them. Supercross guys, same way, right? You know that from Run You Race. You just have a big team behind you. It's not just you winning, it's everybody else. You're doing the work,
right?
The end result, but everybody else is helping you get there. I think the Olympics can be a little monotonous because people you'll go like dead in the brain kind of a thought process where you just have a good coach behind you just telling you what to do and you're just executing. And sometimes you don't, they're there to keep you from feeling that path again. You know, even though you know you're working your butt off to get there, they're pretty good at making it as easy as possible, right?
Right.
And doing it on your own is even harder, as we know. So I think it goes in waves. It goes, don't know I did it. I did it again, but I felt the work. The third time is like, oh man, I know how hard it is to get there, and I got to work harder, and you start putting value on it. And that's when it starts, to me, the repeatable part gets really difficult. And I think that's when you get a dominating person. That's why, for me, watching sports like motocross or golf, anybody that dominates sport, Kelly Slater in surfing, 11-time world champion. He's 50 years old, just won the pipeline last year, you know, and it's like, dude's 50 winning pipeline. It's like, what? You know, you get the motocross guys, you get everybody, anybody in the sport. So when you see that domination, I'm still waiting for it in this game. I think we're close. I think it's just a matter of time. But yeah, it's really hard. I think it gets harder for me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some mental coach is going to tell me it's wrong, but I think it does become harder because priorities change. It's realistically, to be a champion, you have to give up a lot of stuff that most people won't give up. And, you know, they do it and they get the title and it looks really cool, but people don't realize how much harder.
Yeah, what's the old saying? To do something extraordinary, you have to do what ordinary people won't.
That's right.
So
that's right. So I wanted to talk about that because I don't think people realize what goes into. They see David shooting a gun and it looks so effortlessly. And it's like, man, he shoots fast, or he shoots so cleanly, and he runs a 99. How's he do it? He's amazing. He's a pro. He shoots for a living. Dude hardly ever shoots his gun because he doesn't have time to, right? But he's done it at some point in his life. He gave up his childhood of doing what most kids would normally do.
And is it dangerous to say that it's like an automatic thing?
Can be.
Okay.
I think the answer is can be. I think Anthony's onto it. I think that Anthony has a very good black book per se, and he does have a book, right? But no pun intended. But I mean, he has.
Anthony's got his book, and then Anthony's got his book.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there is enough tools now that there were never available to us.
Oh
before,
yeah.
And enough avenues that, you know, obviously there's a million approaches to the game. I think that people can become very, very skilled and good at this game. We might even not know them. They just come out of the woodworks, and all of a sudden this person's on fire. Now, it doesn't mean you don't do the work. You got to do the work. You got to put the time in. You got to shoot a lot of targets. It's always changing, you know, and I was watching Kim Rohde last week, or before I came out here. Walked over to her, I was like, dude, your timing looks great, you know, because that's how I look at her as a coach. I don't care if she's hitting targets. I'm looking at her timing, and just because she's lost a lot of weight, and she's really been working hard this year. She goes, yep, just finished 539 shells. Like, she knew exactly how many she shot.
Wow.
And somebody was coming around cleaning up behind her for the holes, you know, of course, you know, some guy that wanted to reload her shells, you know, but she's like, that was a lot of work. And I'm like, huh? And she goes, how are you shooting? I go, I just shot 300. She goes, I beat you. You know, we always, and I don't even know her that well, but we're teammates on Rangers. So we always talk.
Well, but for all you guys listening out there, I mean, think about it. That's not a small amount of ammo to go through.
No, it's not. And I think that's where, you know,
most of us will go out and knock out 100 on a weekend.
Yeah,
and I think we did some work, you know.
I don't want to bring economics into this, because I know a lot of people listening are thinking, oh my God, the cost of those shells. I don't think you can put a price tag on your goals. I mean, if you're really that heartfelt into it, and you really, truly in your heart of hearts, you want to be whatever, state champion, national champion, world champion, whatever.
You find a way.
You find a way.
But I will say this, and I was talking to you about this, Sean, is Anthony instilled this to me a long time ago. And, you know, I'll give you two perspectives since I've worked with both of them. You got Wendell over there going, you know, he taught me what he taught me. He's like, now go home and shoot 3,000 rounds before I talk to you again. You know?
Wow.
Okay. Anthony is like, look, I don't care if you have 1,000 rounds or 5. When you go to the club and you're doing the actual training part of your program, You make every one of those count like if it's the last shell you're ever going to fire in a gun. And, we could be here and we could be not here 10 minutes from now. So if you think of it, about it in that kind of that euphoric, hippy-dippy way of, just life and itself, it's like if you're going to do something. And it brings me to another thought. I was watching TikTok this morning. Yes, I watch TikTok and I play on TikTok, but I don't do it. I have just like 3 videos. Matthew McConaughey was on there and he was talking about his granddad, told him 3 words. He was like, I called my granddad and I said, I don't want to do what I'm doing in school anymore. I want to go become an actor. And he paused and he knew his granddad was going to light him up, right? It might have been his dad. No, it was his granddad. And he's just like, he's going to light me up. He's going to light me up. And I was ready to, and he thought he was going to you're stupid. You got to go do whatever you got to do. And he paused and then he said, you sure this is what you want to do? And he said immediately on the last sentence, part of that sentence, he just said, yes. He said, and he paused again and he's like, what is he going to say? What is he going to say? And he goes, then if you're going to do it, don't half-ass it. So that to me
that was his dad because
it was his dad or his granddad. Yeah, I've read the book and I always get it.
Green Lights,
it's great. His dad. Yeah. It's a wonderful book. So I work with a mental guy out in the West Coast. He's a doctor, Dr. Jason Richardson. He wrote a bunch of books, Healthy, Happier. I always mess it up. But anyway, his books, I'll figure it out one of these days what they're called. I always mess it up. But he was a teammate of mine on Haro when I raced BMX bicycle, and he was getting his doctorate while we were racing professionally. And he was still winning races while he was getting all that, So I was like, how do you do that? You're winning at the top level. What do you do? And he's like, look, there's 24 hours a day. Make it happen. I'm doing sprints at 3 o'clock in the morning after I do my stuff and I put my kids to bed. I'm just doing it. Now, I understand. I don't think we're going out in our driveway and lighting off our shotguns at 2 o'clock in the morning. But my point is if you only got 100 shells, when you get a coach that can give you an understanding of where you need to work, and then take that work and go to the range and just work on that one thing.
Yeah, focus.
And for me, training is fun because just shooting is shooting. I think for me, shooting is the shooting part. The shooting to just shoot is a tournament because I'm trying not to put the value on it because I want it to flow. And it's not always works, right? We always get upset or tense or whatever, but, because I'm a past BMX racer, I can't ram somebody in a corner. But just do that 100 shells, the best 100 shells. If I've told him mine, I shot a 93 in practice day on all these targets, Anthony, and he goes, go out and hit them harder. It's like, how in the heck do I hit them harder? Look at them harder. And I never understood that. And, you might not even understand what I'm saying if you're listening to this thing, but it's that kind of dedication to get, I didn't have a lot of money behind me coming into the sport. I picked a really bad sport to get into with not having a lot of backing, right? So everything I have is because of sponsors. Everything I have is because of the work I've done. And I could have done more during this period of time, and I'm going to continue to do more. And even at my age, I just turned 50. I came into this game really late because I was racing for so long. I plan on going after it, and I may not ever win that title, but I will be one of the guys that are going to, if you sneeze, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get him. I'm going after him, this weekend. I love Bill. He's my teammate. He's my boy. We're doing some clinics out in California and Florida this winter. That's going to be tuned.
You and Bill McGuire are.
What's that?
You and Bill McGuire are.
Yes, sir. And
awesome.
So we confirmed that today that we're going to do that. I'm still going to come after him and beat him if I can. And I love Bill, and I know everybody would probably put the percentage on him over me, but I don't care. That's why I'm doing it.
But you got to have that attitude, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm cocky. It doesn't mean I'm not nice to Bill. He's one of my best friends.
But if you can't believe you're going to do it, then you're not going to do it.
You're going to have a chance. Because all you're going to be doing is you're waiting for the shoe to drop, and then the shoe drops, and you're like, well, there it went.
Yeah, that's a good way to, that's a good way to look at things, honestly.
That's why I tell C-class shooters, I'm like, you get all fired up because you're missing targets. I'm like, do you realize you can walk in the cage in most regular tournaments as a C-class shooter and just get 25 zeros just ask them, where do you want me to put those zeros on your card? I'll give you 25 zeros right now. What? That's what it takes. You can still be very competitive shooting a 75 in the C-class. And you can miss 25 targets. Really? You can take your first 5 stations and zero them out. How's your pressure now? I don't think I have any. So don't worry about it.
Right.
Just go, man.
Yeah, we build things up in our mind, I guess.
Don't half-ass it, right? Just go after it. And I don't care what it is, guys. Like whether you guys are going after it in this world of the podcast, you're going after it. You went after it, and you got it, and you're keeping going after it. And the goals are no different than they were before. I've talked to you guys enough. I think I'm looking at the whiteboard back here. I think you're, geez, you guys do a lot of stuff. I'm like, wow.
You can actually read that stuff.
Yeah. No, I think you kept your goal the same, right? So the goals are there.
Yeah.
But each year, doesn't it seem like you've gone a different path to get to that goal?
Yeah.
With different sponsors or different path to do this, or we're going to do this with this group. And it's the same outcome, which is educating people.
Yeah.
To have see what we've done.
That's I never really put that in perspective with our shooting and the podcast. That's kind of neat you said that, because we've always had the same goal from day one. We've never changed that goal. We've been very blessed with some sponsors, helped us out and stuff. But I mean, it's like the audience continues to grow. We keep going down this path, and I was kind of chuckling the other day. We released episode 88. It's like, wow, it's 88 episodes. That's 88 weeks we've put this together, and I just still feel like it's. I don't know about you, Sean, but I still feel like we're only 6 months into this.
Yeah,
we're coming on to 2 years this November. Yep. And it's kind of hard to sit back and think about that, but we keep growing, If
you look at it from the perspective I was talking about earlier, you guys didn't really feel the hill at first, did you?
No.
But the hill's there.
Yeah.
And you know how hard it is to work. I know how hard you work on this, Jason, because I'm at your house right now watching the stress happen, getting out tomorrow's episode, and Jules just coming off an airplane at midnight last night, and I'm sleeping, in their house, and I'm watching you. I come to work, and your printers are still rolling and you're closed. So it's like you're still doing work.
Yep.
So I look at it the same way, and I think of More, Better, Happier is my friend's book. Sorry, that's when just hit me like a light bulb on the side of the head.
There it is.
Wait, is that a Bobby Fowler move right there? I was just sitting there, and then all of a sudden, bam, it hit me on the side of the head. Give it more lead. And I did, and it broke. The good story there, I'll have to tell you guys online sometime, or get the guy that actually did it, get Bobby on here. No, but I mean, if you look at what you guys have done, you guys were so green when you started, and I was helping with getting some people on here and stuff like that, and give you guys an advice, but you guys had no idea you were doing what you're doing.
Oh, heck no.
And
heck no.
Not that you didn't know what you were doing. I knew that you were learning there, but you didn't know what you were actually doing. You're doing.
We didn't know what we didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of just like shooting, because, you go out and shoot. It's like, wow, this is really cool.
Right.
And that's what we were at. We were at that cool factor. And then as time went on, it's like more and more work, but then I still get excited.
Right.
I still get excited when I walk in here.
And look, there's going to be a time, and Anthony's went through it. I went through it. I'm sure Zach's went through it because he's been shooting since he was a little kid too. Where you just your first year is like, wow, I didn't know I was doing it. It was cool. Let's do it again. And then a little bit more work, and like, man, that was a lot of episodes. Next time, it's like, whoo, man, we are working hard. And then somebody comes along, better sponsor, better, bigger, and more, right? And then all of a sudden, you're like, do we really want to do this another year? And that's when the love really hits, and that's when you start making the path, and that's when you start learning how to win, right? Mm-hmm. And how to be successful is at that third or fourth time, in my opinion. I think when somebody wins something, especially in this game, it's great. I've had a lot of friends that have won that maybe I'll never win a regional or a national, but they all have, right? And they won it, and then they don't do it again for a while, and then they do it again, and they find that end result, and then they kind of get there again, and then they get there again, and it's the work that they put in, and they realize that the priorities change, everything changed so they can do it. But then it gets hard. I don't care who you are, it gets hard. How Kim Rhodey did it for that many Olympics, and it's probably good for her to have that 1 year, that one Olympic off that she didn't make it, because she's going to be a beast, in my opinion, coming in, and in the next one, because it revitalized her to go, do I love this or not? I've been doing this forever. I've been doing it since a little kid. I've won a ton of medals. What do I want to do? And all of a sudden I see her out at the club and she's pounding targets like she was 14 years old again and loving it and smiling and she was even shooting, she shot a round of international with me from the hip and she beat me by 6 birds.
Wow.
She's just amazing. That's how good she is, right? So then you got people like Hancock or, Anthony. They'll grind and grind and grind, and you never see I don't know if Anthony will ever feel the burn because he's burning all the time anyway, right? Like between his boat and fishing, and because he's calling me for fish and stuff, and then he's doing his shooting, and then he's doing the book, and then he's doing the online stuff, and then he's teaching 8 hours a day. I was like, wow, dude, I don't know. I mean, at some point you got to stop, right? He doesn't stop.
Yeah.
His
days are very full.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's relatable. I mean, you saw how I was here, just a few months ago. I was, I don't want to say the word quit, but, part of me thought maybe I just need to back off for a while. I mean, I was so frustrated, and instead of backing off, I just dug in harder and just started working harder, and it's coming around, with your help, and it's starting to come back. Well, Sean's felt the same way about the podcast a couple times. It's not that he ever wanted to quit, but it's like, man, I am so busy at work. I don't have time for this. And then, well, Sean, you go to a shoot and you get 10 people walking up going, man, I love what you guys are doing. It's like,
yeah, and that's the fuel.
And you want to go back in and work harder again next week, even though you don't have time, but you make time, and I don't know. It's
just
rewarding.
like when I teach. When I saw that look on your face after you did that tower. That's
what means the most.
Dude, I want to teach 10 more hours. 10, 15 more days, 10 years, whatever it is, it feels. Yep. And any guy or woman that shoots well in this game or, grows in the game, because there's people that just shoot too. So they just love the camaraderie and they just like to come to the shoots. Right. But I mean, the people that are competing for wins or whatever, like that May that we met today, right? Is that her name? May or Jane?
Oh yeah.
Jane almost won the Open by like 3 birds in the D class.
In the D class, yeah. She's 3 birds.
She's sitting there, and I'm like, you guys going to sit around or shoot? She's like, I'll shoot. And she's got the fire, dude. And Bill was just giggling about it. He's like, look at this chick. She's got the fire, dude. And I'm like, she just wants to shoot. And she will sit there and pound and pound and pound and pound and pound and pound and hammer targets. It was pretty impressive.
They were shooting on Dan's feed task layout, and there was a true pair, and it was a pretty good pair. Okay, let's put it that way. I'll just say right now, it was a pretty good pair. And she went dead lost, then she went lost dead, and then she shot a couple more times. When she finally went dead pair, you'd have thought somebody threw her the keys to a new Lamborghini. That girl just screaming and hooting and hollering and loving it. And Bill Tran looked at Chad and I. He's like, you see what I mean?
And he just started giggling.
Yeah.
And it was funny. And that was the look that I saw in Bill's face is it was the exact same look I gave you after you did that. It's just cool, man.
But Bill said something that really hit home with me. He's like, I told her, you can't teach that kind of drive. You can't teach that kind of heart or desire. You got to want it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, Chad, you as an instructor, coach, see it too, as you get people to come to you and it's just like, I want to get better. And then you see people to come to you and be like, I want it. I want to do everything right. I want to beat you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's the guy. And I would say that would probably be Alec at one point, right? Am I right?
I've given Alec every tool to beat me, and then he goes out to the regional and gets top 10, or he gets top 10 at the World Cup down in Texas. The kid's a master. I mean, he's just amazing. He just, he's young. He doesn't fully have the confidence yet. Because he goes in these valleys.
But he has that heart.
Dude, he will just sit there and eat targets until he can hit it and get it, and then but man, I tell everybody, once he starts winning, I don't know what to do. Just
look out.
Just take more of the lessons because everybody wants to learn what he's learned. But it is true. Bill did have a point there. It's hard to teach that want and drive. We can teach you to go to the water. We can teach you how to shoot. We can teach you how to run the gun. We can give you our suggestions one way or the other, what you like or not like, or we can kind of work at your strengths or whatever it is. And you can be a coach. It's my way or the highway type of thing. It doesn't matter. It's if the person doesn't want it, it doesn't matter. If you're looking, it's kind of, we all laugh as coaches about it sometimes because everybody's looking for a lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
You know,
Especially these days.
And I tell you what, I gave you a big packet tonight, right?
Yeah.
Looks like a lightning bolt, doesn't it? But if you don't have a person to stand behind you to help you understand what that means, everything that I wrote, it's just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't have, you know, I really thought I understand how David's shooting right now because I've worked with Wendell in the past and stuff like that. David is shooting totally different than how he was 4 years ago. And the essence is the same. Okay. It's kind of like watching Anthony shoot. The essence of what Carlisle taught him is the same, but it's so night and day difference. And it has to be because of what's happening in our game. It's changing all the time. Targets are changing. That watching David, I understand what he's doing because as a coach, it's my job to understand that stuff. But I wanted him to really stand over my shoulder and watch me and hear me what I say and see if I was doing it right. And when I did it right, I was like, okay, I got this. And he's like, that was perfect. Is that what you're doing? And then I would do it again and do it again, do it again. And he's like, yes, 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 yes. And I'm like, okay, ask the correct questions, why, when, and where, and all that stuff. And it's amazing the change, you know, the drive to learn something new and to teach. And, but yeah, it's, you know, totally different. We're all changing. Anytime, if you're not, I guess you don't have to, you know.
Well, and I think
there's John Force hasn't changed. Well, his cars have, so that's a bad analogy because that's technology. So I'm trying to think of something because even golf has changed, and they're still swinging a stick.
But it's like we were talking earlier before we started the podcast. Everybody, first of all, learns at a different rate.
Yep.
And your experience level, you know, whether you're a new shooter, if you take two new shooters and one stays local, goes to the local clubs and shoots the local tournaments, and that's all they do, versus the other new shooter, yeah, he shoots some of the local tournaments, but hey, he went to the States, he traveled to a regional, he went to a big blast. Obviously, I mean, all things being equal, the person that exposes themselves to the bigger tournaments, the bigger targets, the bigger, you know, it's a growing experience.
Yeah,
right?
They excel faster.
Right.
A lot of times, you know, I have students that don't come out of California and they stay at the same three clubs. And they're really good shots. And I'm sure Texas is probably a famous one for that. There's guys in the oil fields down there that are probably as good as our top shooters in the country. They just don't shoot registered tournaments. And, you know, you ask Corey anytime and he'll say, there's some dudes that can shoot, right? So, you know, and then there's different genres of our shooting, like pigeon shooters. You know, those guys, Those are shooters. You know, they know how to run a gun. You know, we're just fortunate to have a little glimpse of it because we have somebody like Derek that can compete at it, or Bill or somebody, you know, that shoots that kind of stuff. But I think that if you're not learning, it's okay. And you're not gonna. It doesn't matter if that's all you want to do and you want to be a local guy. That's great. You don't have to learn anything new. But if you're a person that likes to learn, likes new things, the only way you're going to get the best of that is exposure. Yeah. You know, I've always told my students this too. If you can shoot an 85 in California and then go over to Anthony's place and shoot an 85, and then go down to Texas and shoot an 85, you're a pretty dang good shooter.
Right.
Because you're doing it now in 3 different places with 3 different setters and able to average a good score. When I started shooting, I would shoot really high at home, and I'd go with Zach or whoever out to Anthony's place, and I would drop 10 targets. And when I got those to even out, I knew I was getting there. So, and I still struggle a little bit, you know. I'm not here to say I'm some bad dude behind a shotgun. I can shoot. I'm really good on a shotgun because I've had coaches tell me, like, your skill level is like a 12, but your mental ability is like 2. Well, that's just because I'm kind of retarded. So I hit my head too many times on a BMX bike, but because I care, right? I care. I that's how much I love it. I cared so much when I raced, right? You know, I loved it, you know, and I understand if the day I stop caring, I'll probably win everything, right? But I don't want to not care to have to care.
Yeah, if you don't care, why do it?
If I don't care and then I win, and then I care again, that doesn't sound right to me. I just want to just be stoked and then win and just my head explodes. You know, like when I won that shoot off last year, I know it was for a side event and everything here at this shoot. Dude, I haven't shot that good ever in my career. And I well, no, I actually, that was probably my best. I mean, it was absolutely flawless shooting in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, how I felt. And I didn't miss a target. And
That's
those were
awesome.
gnarly targets. Especially from what everything we shot all weekend long. And then we got in the field and we're like, okay, it's going to be like what Johnson. Holy crap. What is that?
Yeah, those shoot-off targets were nothing like the course.
Did they bring Rick Hemingway in this for this?
Dude, it was big. I know you couldn't see it on video because we videotaped it. 75, 80 yards on a couple of those. I mean, easy. And it was full spring. I mean, through the trees.
Yeah, you weren't there for that, Sean.
I missed that one.
It was
I heard you guys talking about it, though.
He stepped in the hoop. It was his turn to shoot in the shoot-off. He ran every single target. I mean,
I was only
12 targets?
Yeah, I don't remember, but
10 or 12 targets, but he ran it. He was the only one that did. So
I think Cameron ran that one, and then he actually ran the second peg when he had a shoot off in another side event, but he was shooting off for a different event. Mine event, I was the only one that ran it. So, but it was out of sight, out of mind. That was some good. That's what I trained for.
Well, you know what the best target on that was?
That Atlas trap.
The one that came off the AT400 Atlas trap.
Yeah, that thing was booking out there too, and it was straight.
And it was consistent.
It was
every time.
Every time.
Sean's just rolling his eyes over here.
I'm just shaking my head. I'm gonna let you guys go.
We were talking. David and I were talking. We were actually on video the other day, and I was like, something you said about Atlas, and he's like, well, what about Promatic? Because he's sponsored by Promatic. And like, whether it's as long as you don't feel blue when you buy one or whatever I said to him because of your old commercial.
Yeah.
And he's just like, dude, that was the funniest commercial ever, So, and we get this on video. I'm like, that's not really what the video was about, but it was hilarious.
So I was very fortunate. David made and I didn't ask him to. He did out of the kindness of his heart, but he made a video about my trap towers, right? And he posted. I'm getting to it here. Bear with me. Okay, so he posted on his social media, and he told a little bit about the video in the description. And at the very bottom, it says, "Note: I have to include this so I don't get in any trouble. Jason is a dealer for Atlas traps. If this was mine, I would have Promatic traps on it."
That's awesome.
Oh man!
Hey, look, it doesn't really matter. We have to get around somehow, some way. And,
That's right.
I mean, I tell everybody the same thing. Look, not everybody drives a Chevrolet truck. Not everybody shoots a Krieg off. Not everybody uses, game bore ammunition. It's okay. It's all right. And people get so tied up into, oh, well, you're an Atlas guy, and this guy over here is a Promatic guy. So what? Yeah. Chad, you and I are Atlas through and through. We're American boys, and they're not. So, but we're still friends with them.
Right.
And there's all that little rib poking and stuff going on all the time.
You know what I like about this sport is that you can buy everything that we shoot as professional shooters, even down to the service. I just think it's neat in this game that if you want a Super Scroll K80 that, Doug Vine's shooting or something, you can go buy the same goddamn gun that he's shooting. I think the only place it gets custom is with the stocks, because it's fitted to you.
Right. That's
the
I call that a snowflake item. That no two are the same. They're for each individual.
Right. Exactly. So that's the only custom thing you'll ever see. But that's why I love this game, man. I mean, when I got into it and Zach was helping me out and I was traveling with him, he's like, dude, everything the top guys get, you can get it. So if somebody's shooting the right thing, you can go out and buy that.
Let me ask you something about that, though. I had a friend of mine that swore up and down, and maybe you can squash this turd. He swore up and down that the guys at the top can get ammo that nobody else can get. They can have their own ammo made to their recipe. And I thought for a minute there.
Well, when we had George on here, did he hint around at that? Did he have like a special recipe?
He did at one time. That was a signature brand. But
he developed a load.
Yeah, that ended up
they ended up marketing. It wasn't just.
I know the answer to that. Let me back this up because I don't want to say anything I'm not supposed to because I don't know about some of the brands. What I can tell you from Fiocchi standpoint, in the United States, we shoot what they make. So if you now, with that being said, might I have papers that you can't get from your local store because the local store doesn't buy them or can't get a hold of them because I might have got a run of them. Yes. Doesn't mean you can't buy them because they are available.
Right. But what I'm talking about is the components.
Yeah, I'm getting there. So not at the U.S. level. So what I have heard from Fiocchi is at the Olympic level, they not necessarily, they weren't letting them in the factory and going down the line and pouring their own powder, but they got to watch and develop what they were going to shoot and watch their stuff being shot or built. Reason why is because they have these plates that they'll put in quarantine or whatever they call it, your ammo, and then they pour a shell out of one of your shells in the box or two or three or whatever they do. They test it all the time. All the shot has to go through these holes, and you have very small tolerances. And if you don't, you get DQ'd. So at the Olympic level, some of those guys watch their loads get made just so they know that they're consistent. Because I know it happened with a Chinese lady. Was it last year at the World Cup or whatever? She got DQ'd because her ammo was not.
I think I saw that.
She had too much ammo or too many pellets or something. I can't remember what it was, but it didn't pass. So you don't get like a pass. I don't think they test. Okay, that one's bad. Let me test one more. I think maybe they do. I don't know exactly. I'll have to ask him about that. But I know they're always testing. So in David's case, there was some of the ammo that he was shooting at the time, and he cut it open, and I actually have pictures of it where there was like multiple size shot, and it looked like anywhere from 6s to 9s. And in FETASC, technically by the rules, you're supposed to have a factory load, no duplex kind of thing, no spreaders, things like that. So
they test the shot size.
They can. They didn't, but he was more afraid that if they did, if he won something, he would. That's when he changed
to game board.
Right? Because that's what he shot when he won, I think. Right?
Yes.
When he won, because he went over there because he didn't bring that ammo with him. So he was very bummed about that because at the time he would get online and just swear up and down on this ammo. It's like, I don't care what you put in my gun. I could tell when that ammo's in my gun, I know I'm going to hit the target at 75 yards. And he tested all of them. Well, now we know why. So, might have been throwing something downrange. And I've talked to Zach about it. It doesn't mean that they're doing it on purpose. It could just be when they're switching runs from one load to another. That
some kind of quality control, something slips through.
You got to understand, man, these companies are building so many rounds a day or per minute or per hour that we're shooting a piece that can be, that it's built by machine. It can malfunction.
Oh, yeah.
So I always see these, well, this thing wasn't crimped right in this box. It's like, okay.
Yeah. 1 out of 10 million rounds I've
shot loads before that I've shot and 2 wads came out.
Really?
Like, wow, where was that? I knew it felt weird when I put it in the gun, but I didn't even think about it, right? And I went pink, pink.
A few years ago, I opened up a box of Fiocchi's, and I had the shooting dynamics, which are the clear shells, and I found an orange one in there.
That was from their dove load. So that's a dove load. Usually the orange one's the dove load, and remind me tomorrow, and I'll show you something really cool. It was probably when they switched over from a game load,
just a spare,
like a dove and target
or
load,
something.
and it just popped in. I know they have assembled some shots from other companies, and I have pulled those out of my bag, and it's like, hey, did you know this Fiocchi shell has this company's name on the brass? And they're like, shit, it kind of got probably passed through or something,
right?
The weird one was it happened to Zach too. Somebody pulled out a AA and it was green, and it wasn't a gray one. It was like army green. And Zach got online and said, "Oh yeah, that's their military hull, and it must have got switched or got in the machine as they were switching over to the gray hulls or whatever." Happened to me the other day. I got a white Fiocchi Little Rhino. So I called and I was like, "Is this the new albino rhino?" No, it was the coolest shell because it was white, gold lettering, kind of looked like a
game bore
white gold. It wasn't clear; it was white, and And I sent the picture. I'm like, what do I do with this? And I'm like, put it on your shelf, dude. It just probably happened.
Heck yeah.
It was just a.
I think I still got that orange shell somewhere.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when you see that.
Yeah.
I know it's not, I know that somebody was doing it. Somebody shot either at my club, either shot an RC or Rio or something. Like there was one color shell in every box that they opened. Like it was actually built that way where there was one color, different color out of all the other shells.
I remember back in the day, I remember Federal did the red, white, and blue mixture.
Yep. That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago.
It was kind of cool. Remember when they did the pink one?
Yes.
Yep.
For breast cancer. Yep. That was awesome.
I got questions for you.
Oh, boy.
Did you enjoy the lesson, by the way?
I certainly did, and I'd really appreciate you taking the time to help me out.
Let me know if I can help you anymore. That was fun. I just wanted to know if you enjoyed it.
No, I'll definitely give you some feedback moving forward as long as you're open to it. Just, again, it's always nice to have somebody to bounce ideas off of and pick your brain.
Sure. No, that's what I'm here. I try to make myself available. Now, on your side, because I'm staying with you, I'm basically living with you right now. Mm-hmm. What has it been like? Because I think you've shot more in the last 4 days than you've done in a bit. So
I've shot more in the last 4 days than I've shot in the last 4 months.
So what do you think?
No, I love it.
You're in my world now. Yeah. That's what I do.
I mean, I told you before, I wish you lived closer. I think it's awesome. Sean can't get away from work long enough to go shoot, and I end up training most days by myself, and it's awesome to have you here.
That is hard, isn't it, to go out and shoot by yourself? I did that I was telling Sean that the other day. I was like, man, I got like 110 targets on my cart, and I didn't want to buy any more because at the club I was doing it at, we have to buy them in $1,000 or 1,000 target increments. Like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna pull the 300 out of the pocket, right? I haven't had that many lessons before I leave, so I was like, got the dog, threw Carmen in the car, drove 45 minutes to the club. I made it. I didn't try to make it last, but man, I worked so hard in that 110, and I think I missed 3 birds. I mean, it was just awesome training. Got home.
Make it count.
Jen, didn't half-ass it, right? So my got home, girlfriend's like, what do you think? And I was like, wow, that was really hard. That was really tense. So, I wish I didn't have to drive so far because I was really fried on the way home. So just work hard, guys, and ask us questions. I was talking to another pro, won't name his name, but we feel like people get intimidated and wanting to say hi to us and ask us a question. And I finally got somebody at the U.S. Open. I wanted to say this then, but we were doing other things. But where he picked my brain between when I was doing the interviews, and he just was sticking around, and he asked, he's like, can I ask you a couple questions? I'm like, sure. And he's like, I can't believe you answered the questions. I'm like, there's times where we have our families or we have to go somewhere or do something, but it's why we're there. I mean, I'm going to the Ohio State shoot. I'm stoked to be there, and I got a feeling we're going to be sitting around a little bit under the shed when it's raining. So I heard about some rain coming. Man, that's what we're there for. Ask. Even if you don't like me, or like what I teach because you're a David Radulovich fan or an Anthony or Wendell, doesn't mean that we don't understand it. We all shoot together, and we've either been taught by each other or taught each other, things, or talked to each other or done clinics together. So I just reach out to us. I mean, so I have a couple questions for you. One more question.
Oh, he's scanning the boards over here.
So do you got anything fun coming out down the road that anybody like interesting that people will want to know right now that you got coming out?
I'd rather not say.
Okay.
Yeah, we keep things tight to the vest.
Well, I'm going to say one thing because I got the help on this. So we did the for all you listeners out there, because I got a lot of feedback on my personal social media about I get it in live. I think my dog's more famous than I am over the whole thing. But the mounting video, because I had the laser in the wall and he was going absolutely crazy trying to eat the wall. And everyone was like, your dog's going to plow his face to the wall and eat it. Anyway, I got a lot of people asking about, like, that really helped them. That really helped them. So Jason and I got together. And we've been talking about this forever, and it just actually didn't work out for me back home just because of my schedule, but it actually worked out here. And we were able to tie David down and myself.
Yes.
And we filmed part 2, I believe part 3.
Yep.
And part 4.
Yes. For questions for the coaches.
For questions for the coaches.
Oh. Well, now we say part 2, 3, and 4 of the video.
Of the video.
Yeah, yes. I mean, we still have Corey and Brad.
Yeah. We have all that. But this video was on the next step, and one of the one of the big questions we get is, what is grid training?
Right.
And what does it mean? And what I've done all these coachings, or I've done something, or I've come out of the closet for the year and I'm going to shooting. What do I do?
Whoa. He just came out of the closet, Sean.
Well, I live in a closet where I live.
This podcast just took a weird turn.
No comment.
Yeah.
I live in a 1,600 square foot closet, basically, in California. So it feels like a closet after being in your house that has 29 windows. It's weird. It's like, wow, there's a lot of windows. It's like, it trips me out.
That was his comment. He's like, how big's your house? It's like 3,000 square foot. He's like, how many windows do you have? I'm like, 29. He's like, wow. He was more impressed with that.
Yeah, because if I showed him my house, is like, there's the upstairs, there's the hallway, there's the bathroom, there's the room. We're done. You know, get out of the car before I pull it in the garage, because you won't fit. You can't get out in the garage. You know, so we've been talking about building that training without giving you technique or any of that stuff. It's just kind of giving a really basic bottom level thing to kind of follow and give you some ideas. And I think how we did it should be really cool. And I was able to do it with Dave. I thought originally I was going to do it by myself. And Dave was actually there to help me. And what was cool about it is because Dave, he and I both got taught the grid, and everybody, the grid that they think they know and what it's about. And a lot of it is true, but from what Wendell taught us and stuff like that. So we were able to dive into it. And then I was able to show how we tweaked it based on training on because I get questions from, like, Haas called me, I was like, all right, I know you got your own machines and I want to grid these targets. What do I do? I got only a course, so I'm like, okay, this is where we got to live with that, because a lot of people only have courses. Speaking of courses, going out of Cardinal or just your courses here in Ohio, it's so weird that people just go clockwise and just go to every single station and shoot.
So
I'm tripping. That tripped me out more than anything.
Yeah.
It was weird. Like, people were literally following the course. Remember when I was with you too?
Right,
you were with
right, yeah.
I was just tripped me out that I'm like,
just going from station to station. We're bouncing around to this one.
We're bouncing around, going backwards. Right. And we're going around the course, and and we stop, and I'm like, okay, these guys are going to play through. They'll just go to the next station. And they're like, nope, they're waiting. Yeah. And I was like, we have a couple groups like that where I'm from, but it's very, very
well. And I was telling
rare.
Chad that, there's a lot of people that get together on Sunday like we used to, and they go play around.
Yep.
And they
play exactly like golf almost.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like 5 guys, different guns, ladies, men, kids, whatever.
Yeah.
They shoot around. They shoot their 4 pairs, exactly what the station says.
Right.
And they move on.
But that's the dynamic from Cardinal, a public course, to Dan's, that is a private course. If you were out there at Dan's and did that, they'd just go right around you, because they're there to train or practice or whatever. You got the guys that they're playing their 18 holes, right?
Right, that's what it looks like.
It's a tournament without being a tournament.
Yeah,
right.
And we get that. Don't get me wrong, we get that where we're at too. We get a lot of guys that walk the course, take the the scores and all that. It was a lot of people. It was almost 90%.
Majority.
It was the majority of the people there were doing that. And I thought it was cool because it was busy.
Well, I think we used to do that back in the day. I mean, it wasn't just, I don't know if we just didn't know better. Or
Did you
just,
see
if it just seemed like more logical to do it?
Yeah, we didn't really,
Did somebody teach that to you, or?
No.
Did they tell you that?
No, it was, when we shot back in the 90s, Sean wasn't around for any of the registered stuff. I shot a few registered tournaments with my dad. But mainly it was just, you just went out on Sunday and shot.
Right.
And so when we started shooting again in like 15 or 16, it was, we're just going to go get together on Sunday morning. We'd go to the restaurant out front of Cardinal.
Have breakfast.
We'd get breakfast. Sometimes the breakfast spot would change, but we'd always end up there at the club. And the only pressure we had is we had a $10 bet amongst all of us. So each of us would throw $10 in the kitty, and whoever the highest score is won the pot.
Yeah, because we were watching when you said, let's back off, because I was talking to you, and we were at that one cage, and it was that one big set of targets, and I watched that family come in. It was easily the granddad, the son, his wife, 2 children. Mm-hmm. Yeah. One was a girl, one was a boy. They all shot, I don't even know if they looked at a pair, but they all shot A-B report, shot 2 or 3 pairs. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at him like, he's going to do it. He's going to shoot the 4th pair, and he didn't. But I said he's going to hit the next one, and he hit it. And then the kid came up, and and I watched two of the people Dutch the station, turn around like it was no big deal.
Yeah.
And then they're off to the next, and they took their score and they went to the next station. I'm like, I would be so mad. And I would sit there and
nope, this is
who's got shells? I'm going at it right now.
Right.
You know, and they have literally enough shells for what they're doing.
Yep.
They go out and do it. Then they go back to the clubhouse or you go to, and they had you could see they were having a blast. Those are the people I love to watch shooting. It's so cool.
Because it's not about the score, it's about the experience.
Yeah.
And that's what's so fun about this sport.
Well, you can always tell when the Sunday crowd's been through because there's a whole bunch of estate boxes in the trash can.
Yep.
You know, and the
Winchester white boxes and the Federals.
right.
Well, remember when you and I
Club,
I started on the one station with that teal shot, and we walked over there, and those guys come rolling up, and we were putting our jackets on, and we're getting ready to shoot, and they're like, "You getting done?" We're like, "Well, we just got a few pairs. We're just warming up." He's like, "Okay, we'll let you pros at it." I'm like, it was hilarious. I'm like, you watch us miss everything now. But it's funny because I think I ran it. You missed one, and then you ran the rest, and we turned around and got back out just to let them. We just wanted to shoot a few, you know. We started taking off. These guys walked in there, and you could just see like, oh man, you see that target? I think it was out there. I don't know if we can hit this thing.
Yeah. So I think Chad's most proud moment came on. It was on Sunday. Yeah, it was after you went home. Remember, you shot with us, and then
we had lunch, and I went on home, and you guys went back out.
Right. So
that was cool.
We went to go to the 5 stand, and there was a bunch of people on it. So we drove around. We shot a few different stations. Came back over the 5 stand, and I'll tell you after the podcast who was standing there. But let's just say that they're good shooters, okay? And walked up, and I'm like, "Hey, man, how you been? It's nice to see you and everything." You know, we're all talking and everything, and the one guy looked at me, and he says, I said, "Are you guys practicing?" He said, "I'm done." He said, "I threw 2 boxes of shells at that 5 target, and I can't scratch it." I said, "What?" And I turned and looked at the other guy, and he said, "Man, that's a no-joke target." He said, I threw almost a box at it before I hit it." I said, "Are you serious?" This is on the 5 stand at Cardinal, and it is. I mean, it's a right to left chandelle against the wood line. I hit it with the rangefinder. 62 yards is where it was dropping, but I'm going to say at the peak back at the wood line, it might have been 65 or even closer to 70.
I think it was 70
because it was arching and then rolling back in. And I said, I said, "Let me see one." He threw it. I said, "Huh." And I had my gun in my hand because we were going to sit down and practice. I walked into the cage, dropped 2 shells in the gun, set up, said, "Pull." Whack! And I mean, I dirtballed that thing. And you should have heard the choice words behind me. something, bleep,
Jason
bleep, Rambo, bleep, bleep. And I looked over at Chad. He's got this ear-to-ear grin. He's like, attaboy, you know.
And then I missed it twice before I hit it. But I was the only one to hit it on the drop. And they were like, "Dude, that is far." And I'm like, I ain't going to even tell you what I did to make that break because I don't even think it was possible with my eyesight.
So to tell you how tough this target was, David was trying to take it on the way up in the arch, and he kept shooting and shooting. He's like, "My God." So then he hit it.
Then I don't think he missed it.
And he's like, "There's no way." And I'm like, "What, David?" And he kept shooting. He wouldn't say anything. Finally, he's like, and finally he put his gun down. He's like, "Dude, that thing takes an insane amount of lead." I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I can't believe." I'm like, and I said, I scoped it.
And I'm the one sitting there like, "I thought you said in the class we don't look at the barrel, David." and he's like, "No, I saw the barrel." He goes, "It was a lot."
Jeez.
So
well, that's all right though. I mean,
it was cool. It was one of those targets that if you asked me as a coach do I go train on that? I'm like,
if you're going to the U.S. Open, sure.
It was big. I would say if you can be okay with missing a ton and not and know that you're making a good move, you know, like really, if you can't make a good move, get a coach behind you so you can make a good move. So at least you can maybe find it at some point, whether you hit it or not. If you can't stay patient or without getting mad, if you get frustrated, I would just That's like, do I have to hit that 12 in a row? I'm like, yeah, if you want to hit 4 in a row every time, you probably should be able to hit 12 in a row or 10 in a row.
If you're trying to beat Anthony, yes.
At least 2. You better get 2.
Right.
And if you miss the other 2, you better never miss any other easy target, right? So, because David hit it every time. I could hit it about 85% of the time, 90% of the time. I was missing like 1, and then I would hit 3 or 4 or 5 in a row, and then I'd miss 1, miss 2, and then I'd miss it, hit them a bunch more. But it would be like one of those things, like I wouldn't stress so much if you could hit 1 or 2 out of 6 or 10. That's not where most people are losing the game.
Right.
They're missing the game because the trap target that's 10 yards in front of that station of spot 3 is the one they're going to miss.
Right.
And they miss that one that's in your face.
Everybody's going to struggle on that big target. It's
Yeah.
the easy ones that kill you.
Right, exactly.
Right. You got to hit everything else, and just manage the course, manage the targets.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. But congratulations on that.
Oh,
That was
I don't know if that's a major accomplishment or not, but I knew it was a proud coaching moment.
Had to
for
make
Chad.
you feel good for a minute. Come on.
Dude, I felt like I was on cloud 9 when I hit that. 'Cause the people I shot that in front of were like seriously impressed. So, and they're gonna listen to this and think, back it up. But anyway, this has been awesome. You guys got anything else you want to cover before we
Thanks
go?
for having me on.
Yeah,
And thanks for always
absolutely.
having me on.
Chad, awesome for you to come back in town. I'm glad
Dude.
you enjoyed last year so much that you actually decided to come back this year.
And guess what? I'm coming back next year.
Sweet.
You know why? Because it's going to be at Cardinal, and I think I'm going to put it out on the air right now. We're going to do another clinic, and I'm going to do probably one day at Cardinal and one day at Dan's place
At Eagle's Nest. Cool.
Yeah, I think that'll
Very
be really cool because
Kinda grab
this
both.
is Dave's backyard. This is where he grew up, and hell, maybe we can do one more day and go out to Hillendale. Maybe if we could. That's
That'd be
his
cool.
old stomping
Yeah.
ground. So
Heck yeah.
it would be cool for him to do a little because he doesn't get back here as much. He said so. It would be cool to do a little reminiscing. He can go see his parents, do all that stuff, and I can meet some new people and do some stuff.
Yeah, you know what? It might, and we can cut this part. It might end up being Hillendale and Eagle's Nest because the Cardinal Center is hosting the state shoot next year.
Yeah.
So you might not be able to do a clinic
after.
there week before. Do it after. Yeah, that'd be great because then somebody can go back and work on the targets.
Do the before on the other two and the after on the other.
Absolutely. I didn't think about that. Yeah,
I could
that'd be
stay
good.
longer.
I like it. I
Better
get
get a
more
room
trouble.
for me.
More chances for trouble.
Well, hey, so we covered everything. Yeah.
I think so.
I don't even know what we were covering. I was just talking.
We covered a good bit of stuff. Hopefully there's some good information for our listeners out there. I think, again, thank you, Chad, for helping me out. I know that, just working with you just that little bit, I can see where working with somebody that knows what to look for and what to recognize and how to correct certain things, invaluable. So I suggest all of our listeners out there, if you haven't already, if you're working in the game and you're trying to get better, find a good coach, find a local coach, call Chad, call David, call Anthony, call anybody that's in your area that's a good, valuable coach, and you're going to learn something.
Well, and another thing we are, and we'll just add this in real quick, is another thing a lot of us are doing is video lessons where I have students from New York that I'm doing at home, and David's doing 4 or 5 hours a night on video. It's usually a reduced rate. I know money, we usually probably shouldn't ever talk about how much it costs to do lessons, but it is at a reduced rate. So for the listeners, that's one of the questions, like how much, how much are you? How much can I afford?
And can you get the time? I mean, I'd like to go take a lesson with Anthony, but I got to take off work. I got to drive up there and
right. So like when we did I even broke it down when we did the clinic and I sent it out there. I was like, look, this is actually too inexpensive for what we're charging for the clinic, for what we charge for the clinic, because you're getting 6 hours. And actually they got about 7 because with David talking, we literally were in a classroom for 3 hours. But before we got the other 2 hours with the other guys. And I tell you what, it's when you break that down, if you were to do individuals with somebody in person to what we did as a clinic where they got to meet some other people and shoot with people at their same level and just have conversations. And when somebody asks a weird question and thinks it's kind of, lame or it's not a good question, the other person's like, I was actually thinking about asking that. I didn't know how to do it. It was really cool atmosphere. So I think it's worth it because it's invaluable. I mean, I think it was like David and I worked out, it was like $85 an hour for 6 hours. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the end result was a lot, but dude, the amount of homework and the written material that I passed out and that David has, and David's is crazy because he has some algorithm stuff that you can plug numbers in, and it's all arithmetic. It's really cool. It's all scientific stuff, and I can't even explain it because it's just wild. But it's easy to understand. But it's just fun. Whether it's me, Bill, Anthony, and whoever, Zach, and or Kevin and Bill, or whoever it is, go get a clinic or take us as an
learn something.
Go learn something, man. If you're not learning,
not going to get any better.
You're not going to get any better.
No. You're not learning, you're not earning.
There you go. That was it. I think that's what it was.
Yep. Well, hey, speaking of thanking people, thank you to KO Ammo, Game Boy US. We love us some white golds.
You betcha. And
Barepelt. Chad's a Barepelt guy. Barepelt Pro Shooter.
Hopefully my, was it a BP2? Is that your house right now?
Yeah, you think so?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Hope so.
Hope mine is.
Yeah, check see if mine is too.
You got yours is coming on a flatbed.
Maybe.
Who else you got?
I got the extra light material this time.
Yes, Atlas traps. Love me some American made Atlas traps, Chad Roberts. He's just giving a thumbs up. That's all you gotta say.
Yes, I love you, Scott.
Odo Pro Technologies and Hearing Service. Sean, we don't go to a shoot without them, do we?
Never.
And I tell you what, I ran mine on that charge box without plugging it in for 4 days, and they still work flawless.
Yeah, that battery box does a nice job keeping them charged.
Negrini, we have a Negrini episode coming up.
Yep.
So that'd be cool to catch up with Stephen Lamboy and hear what's new from Negrini, what's coming out from Negrini. Rhino chokes. It's more than just the chokes, man. Their services, their barrel porting, forcing cone lengthening.
Great guys to deal with.
Absolutely. RE Ranger, Chad Roberts, RE Ranger, Pro Shooter. Love you some reacts, don't you?
Now that I actually have the reacts this year, and I'm in the green woods, it is awesome.
They are, aren't they? They are really cool
in this environment, because in the desert we get it and it works, but boy, do they work here.
It filters out
Holy
that green.
Smokes, you can see targets through the trees now.
Yes, absolutely.
It's really cool.
White flyer targets. We all shoot white flyer targets.
Isn't it amazing that there's a sponsor out there that actually sponsors people for blowing up their actual product that they make? Isn't that straight?
I never thought about
we
that.
really love you blowing up our stuff. Thank you.
It's a great business model. We're just making stuff for you to break.
Wooly Shooting Inc. Thank you very much to John Woolley and Nick.
Yep.
Can't forget about Nick McGlory. Love those guys. They've helped us out a ton. And, of course, we got a questions for the coaches segment coming up with John Woolley soon.
Yep.
On the audio side. And, of course, sponsoring all of us, Folded Wing Apparel. You got the Folded Wing shorts on right now?
I do.
They're comfy.
They are. You know what they're really good at? Especially out here where it's been hot. It's been pretty warm and kind of with some humidity. Love them. Just, I really do like their tech material. I just wish I was a little taller. Shorts make me look a little bit like a midget, but just because I'm so short. But it reminds me of my BMX days. I always wore long shorts when I was in my BMX days.
I was just telling Sean about the shorts. He's got to get, I mean, I don't know. Do they make size 84?
Maybe.
Hey,
you got to ask to know, Jason.
Hey, you know what? They make them for Alec. He wears his.
Yeah.
So,
there you go.
I need to get some. I definitely need to get some.
No. Listen, no BS. That they are awesome shorts. Yeah. I'm seriously.
All their
you need
equipment
to get a
is.
set.
It's their hooded tech material. Their hats because they went with a good brand on hats, and I just love them. They're cool people too, man. They're just into it. And they're funny. They're great. They are.
Yes.
Take somebody shooting.
Take them to a tournament.
Take him to a clinic.
Let's see if he can do it right.
I don't even know what I'm just going to say.
Well, you know how we wrap this up, Chad?
No, I don't.
Until next time.
Take somebody shooting?
Yeah. Neither him or Grace apparently listened to the end of the podcast.
Or Eric McGrath.
Or Eric McGrath. All right, well, everybody, until next time, we will catch you back here on the Dead Pair Podcast.
But you didn't end it.
Okay, he just shit-bombed that. So
That's all right, leave it in there. I think it's funny. I think you should have left it in there.
Oh, my God. What the fuck am I dealing with here?
You can cut that whole ending out. I'm starting to talk about guns and shit.
It's 10 o'clock and we're not even drunk.
I know. What the...
You're the one that's not.
All right, come on, let's do it.
All right, Sean Alley, enough of this nonsense. What do we tell everybody every week?
Hey, until next time, we'll see you all right back here on the Dead Pair Podcast.